Good day, this is Tata Tronco Seva doing another viewer request video. Today's topic is Menga or blood. First and foremost, I just want to say that I do not claim to have the absolute truth. Now, the viewer has a great question. The question is, what is the importance of Menga or blood in the Palo Mayombe religion? Menga is the driving force behind every spiritual cauldron. Let's break it down a little bit. Just imagine a spiritual cauldron that's constantly doing spiritual works for a tata or yaya. As it's manifesting these types of works, it's using up a great, huge amount of its energy. Let's just use an example that we all could relate to in this aspect. Let's just say you're constantly on your cell phone. What happens to the battery level after all the constant usage? Well, it goes down, doesn't it? So now you have to in turn connect it to the charger in order to charge that battery up. Well, this is the same concept, the same logical concept. The more you work the spiritual cauldron, the more energy it's going to use. Well, now you have to rejuvenate that energy. So now, getting to that point about Menga, blood, the biggest mistake people make in a religion is overloading the spiritual cauldron with Menga, blood. They think that the bigger the sacrifice, the better it is. Not necessarily. Just like you can overload a battery to the point where the internal cells do not hold a charge no more, you can do the same thing with the cauldron. There's certain ways to cool down the spiritual cauldron. I myself have a foolproof way of doing this, but that's an in-house secret. At this religion, remember, every tata and yaya have their own way of working. What works for me might not work for you or the next, and vice versa. But another thing that I must say, where these people that are constantly overloading these cauldron, because the cauldron would not hold the charge, it all comes down to the foundation. When they created that spiritual cauldron, something was not done right. When something is not done right, well, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, and it'll lose its charge. Like any other thing, if you have a defective battery, it's not going to hold the charge no matter how many times you plug it in. So in essence, you got to constantly have that phone plugged in order to get that phone continue working, because the battery won't hold the charge. Well, that's the same thing with these cauldrons that are wrongly constructed, where you kind of constantly be feeding them in order to keep them working. Now, there's other ways to work with the cauldron that doesn't involve Menga. For example, working with certain trees and plants, with certain fruits, sometimes even certain meals. Remember that everything has energy. You just have to know how to tap into that energy and transfer it. You can even transfer the energy from a candle. Like I said before, everything has energy. So to answer the viewer's question, Menga is extremely important. It's the fuel in the gas tank. You just have to know when and how much of it to use, because if not, it could bring consequences. Remember that the spirits in Palo Mayombe are not too forgiving when it comes to someone doing mistakes. My recommendation is, if you don't know what you're doing, do those spiritual works in front of your godparents. Let them guide you. Let them prevent you from doing grave mistakes that are going to haunt you. And if your godparents are not around, just find somebody in the religion and be respectful, explain the situation, and I'm pretty sure they'll guide you in your learning experience. Well, that's all I have for Menga right now. May Nsambe bless you and yours, and salam alaikum.